defective or when the peripheral nervous system is defective. Muscle tone. The increase in muscle tone in central lesions and the peripheral lesion, it becomes decreased. The trophic conditions, the area become atrophic. Normal areas in central but peripherally it becomes atrophic. Fasciculations, no, yes. Reflexes, increased, decreased. Then plantar reflex, very important sign. We have got extension which we call a Babinski's sign. So a simple comparison of these 5 functions can differentiate between a central lesion and a peripheral lesion. Then most important, because the major cause of all these deficits is defective blood supply. Now this blood supply, we have to recall back, if you look at 2 surfaces, the superolateral and a medial surface of the cerebrum of the brain in a sagittal section. The pink area is with the middle cerebral, 3 major arteries, anterior, middle and posterior. The major area on superolateral surface is middle cerebral artery. Then on front we have got the interior and back, and we recall back the posterior one is the visual cortex. So posterior cerebral artery. Now these arteries, they supply the brain, we have talked previously, in a very well arranged fashion. They give 2 types of branches. Some branches they just spread on the surface, and some are penetrating or perforating branches. They go deep and supply the nervous tissue over there. So keeping in view the area supplied these 3 vessels, if we have sections, different levels of the brain parts, the concerned area which is supplied by a specific artery will be affected. So look at, for example, the pink colors, the yellow colorations. These are the section at different levels. Now we always, in nervous lesions, we have to localize it precisely. So we have different sectioning of the brain by the different diagnostic technique like MRI. Then another symptom, which is the problem with the speech. We have seen the 2 areas, the motor and sensory area, the speech, the Broca's and speech areas. But when we compare, aphasia simply does not mean that person is unable to speak, but other deficiencies can also be seen over there in the patients. For example, deficiency, difficulty in understanding, deficit reading, deficit writing. So usually symptoms they mix up. They appear in a cluster, they appear collectively. There is a description of these, that how they differ in presentations. Another area which is specifically examined and we should be concerned about, this is frontal eye field. This eye field controls our conjugate eye movements. When we move our eyes in direction of some directives, for example, to look this finger, both eyes move at one time. This is what we call conjugate eye movements. It can be horizontal eye movement or vertical eye movements. Now this area which has been marked over here, this is what we call as controlling area for the conjugate eye movement. This is broadband number 8 area. Now unilateral damage will lead to deviation of the eye to the side of the lesion. This is important. To the side of the lesion. If the right side is affected, I will move to the right side, deviate to the right side, or vice versa can occur. So this is the second thing. Then we have got, we will see this again, that the connection between the peripheral system, when we collect, if you recall back, the connection between the periphery and the central nervous system, it appears when we have got the arrangement of a typical spinal nerve. If you recall back, we have been doing it again and again, and every time we have to be very careful. We have any sensation, for example, touch over here. A mere touch, when something touches our body, any part of the body, this sense of touch, what does it tell us? That something has been in contact with our body, number one. Not only contact, we also differentiate, for example, temperature of this contact. Is it cold or hot? We can realize this. Second thing, is it fine or rough? Number three, is it, what I always say, is it a motherly touch, friendly touch, or enemy touch? This also we can realize. All these aspects of a sensation of touch will decide the reaction. Now this reaction, this sensation is at any part of the body is received. Which nerve is concerned with, which nerve ending is concerned with reception of this sensation? Anybody, any idea about this?
We have, regarding the touch, we have five types of receptors that pick up the fine touch.
Receptors are there, but which nerve will carry this information?
Sensory.
Sensory, of course, because it is the sense. But which nerve? This we have done long time. Whenever we have got a nerve that we call posterior primary rami, PPR. Posterior primary ramus, ramus word means the branches. So if you recall back, for example, we have a section at spinal cord level, the famous figure for spinal cord. We have got the horns and posterior portion and anterior surface of the spinal cord. We have received, for example, touch over here. This fiber, there are many fibers, but we will draw one fiber. This fiber will carry this information, and this all nerve fibers, they are processes from neurons. They arise from bodies of the cells. All these neurons, they are assembled, gathered in over here. This is called dorsal root ganglion. So dorsal root ganglion is the collection, is the storehouse for the nerve bodies, neurons. So from this neuron, this fiber has come out. So this fiber will carry this information. Now these fibers are very typical. We used to divide them according to the number of processes. So one of the fiber, one of the neuron, if they have got only one process, it is always axon. But this axon serves a double purpose. It will serve as a carrying in the afferent fiber, and it will take it out to the center, efferent fiber. So these are what we call pseudo bipolar or pseudo unipolar neurons. They have one process, but it appears as if they have two processes. So these neurons, this information from here will lead to the posterior horn of the gray matter in the spinal cord. Now when this information reaches here, this information is given to another neuron.